Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am joined here, as always, by the man who saw his team lose a tough one. But enough about baseball. Let's talk football. Kyle, how are you doing?
It's been a rough day for me. I'm not gonna lie. First, my guys at McLaren are booted off the first spot, have a chance to win the race and blow it. Then it's Boston, not a good Boston sports day. I hope everyone feels bad for me because they should. So,
are you a little worried that it's starting to become less ironic when you say that?
A little bit. I mean,
yeah.
Listen, the Boston sports fans are easily, we talk about Philly and we talk about New York sometimes when their teams stink. That's nothing compared to the irrationality of a Boston sports fan. Everyone's about ready to just go crazy over a couple losses here. So, yeah, I mean, it's bad shape. So, Boston sports are over.
Yes, I like this super chat, but Zachary, as a Washington Balls fan, I hoped for 15 years we would be as good as the Pats. This isn't what I meant. Yeah, that's seemingly how this has gone. All right, so listen, there was a lot of fun stuff here. Let's just start, as we always start off, with the Packers or Sunday night game. So it'll be the Packers 49ers. Although real quick, hey everyone, hit subscribe. I'm only about 2,000 away from 100,000. So hit subscribe, hit thumbs up, all that good stuff. But yeah, Kyle, we had a very fun Sunday night game.
Another one.
Yeah. What a run we're on.
Yeah, keeping it going, DJ Khaled style. Another one. San Francisco had no business being in this game, right? I was just looking at this and I was looking at the numbers and I'm like, why is this close? And there was a reason why it was close. And it's two things that San Francisco did really well. They were really good on third down. They were 7-11 on third down, which I tweeted at the end. It was pretty funny that last drive. It's like, okay, San Francisco's just going to get into third and long and then throw it to George Kittle or Deebo Samuel, and that seems to work. And they did it really well this game. They had 64% third down conversion. And the second thing they did really well is defend Green Bay in the red zone. Green Bay was 3 or 5 in the red zone, had to kick 3 field goals, and that kind of kept San Francisco in this game. And San Francisco just kept making plays. Every time we thought, okay, this team's out now, they just came back and made another play. Those two guys, Samuel and Kittle, made a bunch of plays. My man, Juszczyk, fullbacks forever, man. He comes and gets the big touchdown, and then all of a sudden you think you're golden. 37 seconds, though. Too much time for Rodgers. That's the thing that's so crazy. Juszczyk breaks like 3 tackles to get into the end zone, and you're like, oh, he should have went down at the 1-yard line going against Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers goes right back down the field, gets the field goal, then Packers win. They deserve to win the game, though.
Yeah, well, also, I mean, it's worth mentioning they did, snap the ball on that touchdown to take the lead with 12 seconds left. So you could have killed a little bit more time. That probably would have been a difference. Also, Ray with the super chat, Trey Lance time. Now, we'll get to that in a second. I think we'll have that conversation. Also, appreciate that. The great Luke Brown with the super sticker. But yeah, no, it was. I mean, I guess let's start there with the Aaron Rodgers of it all. For one thing, Devontae Adams should not have been back in that game, right? I mean, he was like, it was as clear cut as like a concussion where he just like, no, I'm fine. I'm going to go back in. Like he was like unconscious. How did this happen?
Yeah. And he made a heck of a catch too at the end of the game to get them into field goal range. So yeah, I mean, it was crazy. That should have been a penalty. I don't think anyone can really debate that. The ref was in the wrong position. It should have been a penalty. He didn't get the call though. But hey, he came back out and made the plays. Give him credit for that. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the history of head injuries in the NFL, this is another example of how strenuous was this concussion check.
Right. Yeah. And then but it was still incredible stuff from Aaron Rodgers. I know we all say, 32 seconds left. There's plenty of time for Aaron Rodgers. Like, well, Mahomes was in a similar situation, needed a touchdown, but he couldn't do it. Like, that's still, with no timeouts left, that's still really difficult to do. So he does deserve a lot of credit, and they, with only a few seconds to spare.
Yeah. No, I mean, you give him a ton of credit. I mean, we knew Aaron Rodgers was good. We weren't freaking out over week one. Well, I generally think we stay pretty tame on this podcast. We generally, we still know Aaron Rodgers is good. And Green Bay just did a lot of good things in this game. They threw the ball well. Devontae Adams was unguardable, it felt like at time. He had 18 targets, 12 catches. It felt like he had 30 targets and like 20 catches.
Mhm.
It just seemed like whenever they wanted the back shoulder, it was there. Aaron Jones still did his thing in the backfield. I mean, everybody had their part in this game. And then that throw to Valdez-Scantling, like, oh my God, that's just incredible, that throw and how he's able to get it over the defensive back. There's just so many things he did well in this game and so many things this offense did well. And I also, on the other side, want to give credit to the defense because, once again, this coverage unit looks legit. This is the one thing that was holding it back with Kevin King at cornerback last season. This coverage unit, Jair Alexander got a pick. Eric Stokes made a bunch of plays. This coverage unit might be the best in the NFC right now.
Yeah, the refs hate Eric Stokes. They're addicted to throwing flags at Eric Stokes just for being generally in the area.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, but I thought he had a good game still.
Yeah, I agree. It was some weird refereeing all around. I thought both sides benefited from that. And we got to talk about the 49ers of it all. And at first, this was looking like, I believe Green Bay was up 17-0. This was looking like just could be a blowout. And it kind of all started with a Trey Lance rushing touchdown, which is kind of the element that they bring. Jimmy G had an up and down day. What did you think of his performance?
I mean, he was fine. Like, I think I tweeted it right towards the end. It's like San Francisco got outplayed in almost every facet, and yet people are going to blame Jimmy Garoppolo for losing this game. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo lost them this game, but he's certainly it's a Jimmy Garoppolo game for me. He's got an incredible roster around him, and I think he's probably he's not one of he's good enough to be a starter in the NFL, but he's not moving the needle for a team one way or another. He didn't lose in this game, but he also didn't make plays to win them this game. He did have the touchdown pass at the end that got him back into it, which was nice, but at the same time, they got stuck in a lot of third and long situations that he kind of got bailed out by Kittle and Samuel, like I was saying.
Yeah, the running game was tough. Trey Sermon, their leading rusher, with 31 yards on 10 carries. So it was that's 3.1 yards per carry for your math fans out there. That's not very good. So he kind of, second week in a row, he's kind of had to carry this team a little bit. And also, like, unless you're just a super big Trey Lance fan, there's definitely if any other rookie quarterback had Jimmy Garoppolo's performance today, they'd instantly become like the headliner for Offensive Rookie of the Year right now.
Yeah, they'd be the favorite because he was better than every other rookie today, honestly.
Right.
So, I mean, I thought he was fine. Like I said, I don't think he really moved the needle for me one way or another. He's kind of, if you had a definition of a game manager, he really is. It was just an unconventional San Francisco performance because, like you said, they couldn't run the ball, and that's typically what they do a really good job of. And we'll see if San Francisco gets better at that, if Trey Sermon can be that lead guy, because they have so many guys hurt right now. But they're definitely going to need that running game to be better because I don't think you can rely on this passing game with Garoppolo.
Yeah. All right. Ready to move on?
Yeah, we can move on from that game.
All right. Let's talk about the one of the best games we've seen in quite some time. Comes down to a game-winning field goal. Of course, Falcons, Giants. No, I'm kidding. We are talking Ravens, Lions here. Falcons, all you Falcons and Giants fans, that's at the end of the show. Skip there. Ravens, Lions. What a unbelievable ending, Kyle.
It was. It looked like it was over. The pass rush was getting after Lamar there for Detroit. They got him back in the backfield a couple times. And then 4th and 19, they dropped way back in coverage, but they had this huge separation between their deep safeties and their secondary coverage unit for that prevent defense. And Sammy Watkins just sits there. And nobody's looking at Sammy Watkins as he sits there. He gets a perfect pass, gets upfield. Lamar makes the play. It was a good throw by Lamar, too. Give him credit for that. And then, of course, Justin Tucker comes in and beats the Lions in the most Lions way possible. It was an incredible kick. There's nothing else you can really say about that. I'm sure the Ravens aren't looking at this game saying, wow, can't believe we were able to do that. They played pretty bad in this game, but Lamar made enough plays. He hit that throw to Watkins, and then Tucker was amazing.
Yeah, as X in the chat says, Lions are cursed. Yeah, I think that's a very fair way to say it. No, this was not a perfect day for the Ravens. You had, Marquise Brown loves to drop passes. He's one of his favorite things to do. He left a lot of points on the board there. Lamar did also miss an open Mark Andrews, who I thought Lamar had a really good passing day outside of that. But there was, if Marquise Brown makes those catches, his numbers look even better. Also a bad interception by Lamar, so all of that stuff factors in. But it was just kind of a weird game. It's like they had these points on the board. They could have blown the Lions out and just weren't able to do so. And it kind of was like, okay, well, who cares? They're still up by a lot. But again, your guy, Dan Campbell, these Lions do not quit.
Yeah, I mean, they battle. They really do. And this is the third. I mean, they've played 3 playoff teams, or teams we think are playoff teams, to start the year.
Wait, no, sorry. I got my brain. I thought you were talking about the Ravens. I was going to say that I don't think the Lions. No, never mind. Sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
The Lions have played 3 what we think are playoff teams to start the year and have been competitive in all the games at some point. That Packers game got away from them a little bit, but they were still in the game at, midway through the second half, I thought. So, yeah, I mean, this team really battles, and they have, I think the big thing is that we definitely underrated this offense a little bit. Goff, I think, is still making some throws, which is nice. He wasn't great today, but he was nice. And then, I mean, they did a really good job on TJ Hawkinson in this game, bottling him up. He only had 2 targets, but I continue to say his name. I'm going to continue to say it. DeAndre Swift is a monster. The way he can work in the running game and also in the passing game, he had 107 total yards and 20 touches. He's basically not practiced all season too, because he's been dealing with this hamstring injury, and he just comes in and dominates every game for them offensively. He's such a good talent. Him and Jamal Williams are honestly probably one of the better backfields in the league right now, and that's not an exaggeration. And they keep, making plays for this team.
Wow, that's a very, very high on this this backfield, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, those are 2 really good players, and Swift is performing to the level I thought he would this season. He's played really well this season in all of their games.
Yeah. One interesting thing as well is the Ravens end up going 1 for 10 on third downs. The Lions go 3 for 10. So that kind of speaks to sort of just this weirdness of the game. It felt like also only 1 turnover. So bizarre, but again, the ending of the 4th and 19 conversion, and then a NFL record 66-yarder that hits off the crossbar. And did you think when you were watching that, did you think it was going in? Like just before it, I was thinking, I know it's Justin Tucker, but there's no way.
I don't know. I was kind of like, well, this is the Lions, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I was
Right.
like, there's just, especially after that whole Matt Prater thing earlier, I was just like, I don't see it. But hey, kicking in Detroit with that dome, it does a lot for you. And I don't know. It was an incredible kick. So that was that was an impressive kick. That's all you could say to it. Detroit, yeah, I mean, they weren't able to get it done. Like I said, they have some pieces on offense. The pass rush got after Lamar Jackson, of all people, which is impressive. So you have some things you keep building towards. And I still like like you said, I like the fight of this team. The fighting Dan Campbells keep going. They just need to win a game.
Yeah, and what foreshadowing too, right? Matt Prater goes for the NFL record, ends up getting returned for a touchdown. Like Matt Prater, former Detroit Lions kicker. You can't write anything better than that.
Yeah. No, I completely yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I couldn't believe this when I saw it. I was just like, oh my God. It's just, it's amazing to see that happen.
Yeah, there were 2 plays, I think, this week when we all kind of just collectively were just in shock. I think there's some sort of car outside or something. But any final thoughts? Gosh, I thought it was my headphones for a second. Any final thoughts, or you want to move on?
Yeah, just so because Gabby put it here. I did not say that Swift and Williams was the best backfield in the league. I said it was one of the best. I know Browns obviously have the best, but I think it's definitely in the conversation for a top 5 group overall between starter and backup combination.
Yeah. Also, one more thing, meant to mention this. There was some controversy in this game, as there tends to be with Detroit Lions games. When the Ravens, they got up, they spiked the ball with not too much time left. They end up throwing the ball out of bounds, but on that play, it appeared as though there was 0 seconds left on the clock. It the clock was on 0 for about 1.5 seconds. Typically, they'll give you 1 second, but after 1 second, they'll throw the flag. To me, Lions fans are very upset about this. This kind of falls in like this is the call you don't always get. I get that it's frustrating given the situation, but you're not going to get every call. I think that's just kind of how it works. Like there's plenty of calls that go different ways. At the end of the day, you got lucky with all those Marquise Brown drops as well. This is just football. Luck is a part of the sport. They gave him a second and a half instead of the typical 1 second you get. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's tough because it's like you said, we've seen this so many times where it's like it hit 0 and there should be a delay of game, but you don't realize it because the ref has to look up, see the delay of game, and see the ball's not snapped, and then throw the flag and blow it dead. I mean, until they adopt watches that basically buzz when the clock hits 0, there's just not going to be a solution to this. Maybe that is a solution.
Well, or I mean, I think that the solution is they specifically have it a gray area because I'd rather live in the NFL where we don't call those and we get to see 66-yard field goals for the win than live in the NFL where we have more delay of game penalties. I'm fine with being a little bit lenient on those kind of things. It's just that I feel like maybe the education needs to be a little bit better to the fans of no, we actually purposely are lenient on this kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So it makes sense, but like I said, incredible kick from Tucker. Good win for the Ravens, and good fight from the Lions. It was an impressive performance despite the loss.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Let's talk about another crazy game. The Mammals taking on the Raiders. I locked this game up for the Raiders. It was a bad situation of the Raiders being, -4, end up winning by 3. So that was tough with that stupid 4th down Jacoby Brissett conversion. This was a fun game, Kyle.
It was a fun game. I'm trying to find the box score on here on Pro Football Focus. Oh, there it is. Okay, so got the box score up. Yeah, I mean, this game was weird because, it's so funny because before the game, when we did a preview show on Wednesday, you picked the Raiders, but you're like, this is the type of game the Raiders lose. And this is something that they've happened under the Gruden era. And it looked like it right off the bat. The pick 6 where, it was kind of a lazy throw. And then the turnover on downs, Miami goes down and scores, all that. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, the Raiders are doing the Raiders thing again. Then Miami has maybe one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my life, throwing the ball into their own end zone on in their own territory, way deep in their own territory. They have a pass play that's designed to throw in their own end zone. Makes absolutely no sense. Gets the safety. The Raiders bounce back, and then they just look kind of cool and collected. But then they kept making mistakes late in the game, Max Crosby, who I thought was incredible in this game, had the roughing the passer that prolonged the drive. They didn't get hurt by it because the Dolphins had to punt. And then it was Miami again going down and getting the score that they needed. And just it was a whole lot of things. But the most important thing is that the Raiders didn't lose this game because the Raiders have lost this game. And the passing game wasn't getting incredible. Peyton Barber ended up figuring some things out. The defense continued to make some plays, albeit it is Jacoby Brissett, so you take it what you will. But, they won the game. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, there was kind of this weird narrative of people saying, I don't know if the Dolphins send this game to overtime without Brissett, which on one hand is kind of true. Brissett did really come alive in that 4th quarter and in overtime. On the other hand, he had 215 yards on 49 attempts. So he had well under 5 yards per attempt. It's not like he was consistently playing well. He just had a couple of key 4th down conversions in this game. Dolphins end up with 3 4th down conversions overall in this one. But yeah, I mean, several things to talk about. I thought, Derek Carr had kind of an up and down, but mostly up day. I also think that we got to start talking about Casey Hayward as sort of one of these breakout stars, kind of I would not have guessed Casey Hayward, after having a disappointing season his last year with the Chargers, would come on to the scene and be having a career year. But that's what we've seen so far.
Yeah, and I mean, the whole secondary has kind of impressed me in a bit. I thought Trayvon Mullen had some really good plays in this game. Nate Hobbs, his whole thing has been, well documented about how good he's been this season. So, yeah, the secondary has kind of come alive. Trayvon Moehrig almost had the interception in the end zone. Besides, there was a pass interference on the play, so it wouldn't have mattered. But at the same time, there's just some good plays overall from the secondary that we continue to say this. It looked like a total disaster last year.
Yeah.
It's not outside of Hayward. It's a lot of the same guys, and it's just so much better this season. It's so much more organized. So the defense has been really good, and yeah, I mean, like you said, this was kind of an up and down day for Derek Carr. But if this is now, up and down days for Derek Carr, that means Derek Carr's, proving he's one of the best in the league, because this is a
Hmm.
good day for a lot of other quarterbacks. And you can go away from this game saying, oh, he could have done a little more, but he was still really good in this game, and he still did enough for this team to win.
Yeah, the main thing was Derek Carr basically said, like, we're just going to spot you 7 points. Like, here you go. You get 7 points, and now we'll start playing football.
Yeah. And, Hunter Renfrow was really good in this game. Brian Edwards is the best overtime player ever. That's
Right?
two. That's another
Uh-huh.
thing. So, I mean, all of these things are just coming together for the Raiders, who are tied for first place in the AFC West right now.
Yeah, that's right. 2 games up on the Chiefs, excuse me. Get that in a second. So let's a couple things. How do we feel about the Raiders right here? Are we? I think I'm buying the Raiders as a playoff team. I think, and maybe even that might be too low on them right now.
Yeah, I mean, because I had them when we did our preseason show. I think I had them tied with Pittsburgh, but somehow they lost the tiebreaker for the playoff spot at 9-8. They look like they look better than a 9-8 team right now, and Pittsburgh looks significantly worse than a 9-8 team right now. So yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely a playoff team the way they're playing. I don't really know how their schedule shakes out the rest of the year, if that becomes more difficult for them. But they're winning the games in front of them, and that's the most important thing. And they've beaten some good teams in the process. So this has been an impressive run for the Raiders, and they definitely look like a team that can be in the playoffs for me.
Yeah, they play the Chargers next week on Monday Night Football. That should be fun. For the Dolphins, this is, I don't know. I mean, reason for optimism, perhaps. Like, this is kind of they're a weird team. Like, I don't really know exactly what to make of this Dolphins team. I think I don't know if I love this team, but they at least can stay competitive. And again, the Miami turnover magic just continues with that pick six. I don't understand how this keeps happening. Teams are, and again, Derek Carr threw it right to a linebacker for an easy pick six. It was like, I don't know how to do it. I don't know did the Dolphins pay off players that give them turnovers? It's incredible.
Did you see the stat that they posted during the game, that it was the 25th consecutive game with the turnover for the Dolphins? And the next
Insane.
highest, not only that, the next highest point or one was Dallas, and they had 9 consecutive games.
Uh-huh.
Like,
That
it's
seems
just
about right. Yeah.
unreal that they can just keep doing this. Like, this is just a weird game. Like you said, Brissett, you felt really good about this Brissett game. He had 4.4 yards per attempt. Jalen Waddle, I thought, was pretty good in this game. 12 catches for 58 yards. Like, how does that happen? Gesicki was really good in this game. But, there's just a whole bunch of things that just, like, I don't understand how this is like a real football team. It feels like half of a real football team, honestly, and they just kind of figure it out as they go. But yeah, I mean, I think they're just going to be one of those teams that are kind of like frisky in every game, but you don't know if they're actually going to like sustain the winning.
Yeah, it seems like with that coverage unit, they sort of have a chance to win every game. All right, we can move on now. Let's go to, let's see. Well, let's stick with some AFC West. Let's go Chargers, Chiefs here. And, Kyle, this is I feel like the hot take Sunday show, right? Hot take recap where we do it right afterwards. This is maybe a bit of a hot take. Patrick Mahomes right now, in my opinion, is not playing like a tier 1 quarterback through 3 weeks.
Especially the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the stuff that the Chiefs do, like, obviously they're super explosive. They make big plays. Even in the bad games for Patrick Mahomes, this Chiefs offense still had explosive moments. But this whole, like, I'm going to stand back there and wait 6 seconds for a 40-yard pass, and it just turns into a 40-yard interception, but I'm going to get bailed out because it looks cool. Like, they lost this game because Justin Herbert was way better than Patrick Mahomes today. It's as simple as that. That's what I thought about this game, was that Justin Herbert was really good. Patrick Mahomes was fine. And you just can't win. You can't win football games against good teams like the Chargers and turn the ball over 4 times. And it came back and bit them in this game. And I thought that was as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, the glaring stat in this one is in a 6-point game, the Chiefs lose the turnover margin 4-0. I mean, that's tough. I mean, Chargers doing a great job of not turning the ball over. And let me throw this one at you. This is probably too early, but it's a thought I had, and this is definitely it's definitely too early. But I could see maybe a Chargers fan talking themselves in to rather having Justin Herbert right now than Patrick Mahomes right now for the next 20 years. Like, I could see someone talking themselves into it. I mean, Herbert thoroughly outplayed Mahomes. Herbert was incredible in this one.
Well, the 12 Chargers fans are all talking themselves into Justin Herbert as the future number one quarterback in the league. Yeah, I mean, I know the Chiefs defense is what it is, especially that coverage unit right now. But to be able to go in and do that, it was a really good game for them. Mike Williams on the right night continues to look like the best wide receiver of all time. Like, I just don't understand it. And I mean, everything about this Chargers team, I just really like. I like the defense. I like the defensive line. I like some of the guys in the coverage unit. I like their wide receivers. I like their quarterback. I like Austin Eckler. I like Brandon Staley. I like that they're willing to go for it on fourth down and say, hey, we're playing the Kansas City Chiefs. We don't kick field goals. And they go in and go for it on fourth down and get it and win the game. Just an incredible game plan, incredible gutsiness, and this team went out and won a good game.
Yeah, I don't love that the Chargers play in Los Angeles. Go back to San Diego.
I mean, that's a given. San Diego is the best place ever, by the way. Have you been to San Diego?
I have not been to San Diego, no.
That's my endorsement. Everybody should go travel to San Diego. It's a fantastic spot. Great food, great beaches, great weather. One of my favorite spots.
Is it worth it to travel to San Diego if I live in Florida?
Yes, you should go once because it's fantastic. You can go to the zoo, catch some San Diego State Aztec football. I mean, there's not much. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, listen, and we are being harsh on Mahomes. I think we all expect Mahomes to turn it around and be like, Mahomes still has those flashes of like incredible stuff, but in a weird way, I was also wondering maybe this kind of slow start could be good for the Chiefs. You know, it seemed like last year they kind of walked their way through the entire season, and then when they got punched in the mouth in the Super Bowl, they just didn't know how to react. It's maybe good to sort of have this adversity early on and kind of say, okay, we can't be taking these drives off. We can't just be, running around and saying, F it, Tyreek Hill is down there somewhere. No, there's kind of other stuff you have to do. This was still, we say Mahomes isn't playing as well as he typically has. They lose the turnover battle 4-1. Justin Herbert looked incredible. He could be the face of the NFL. They lose by 6 points due to like a last minute field goal. Like, this was still a very competitive game. Kind of goes to show the high standards the Chiefs have.
Yeah, and like I said, even in a bad game like this, they still had really explosive plays. This is one of the better Clyde Edwards-Helaire games we've ever seen too. He was good in this game. Kelsey still had his. Shout out to Valdosta State Jody Fortson with the touchdown reception too. That was sick. But at the same time, it's just like, how many times have we seen Patrick Mahomes with 5.9 yards per attempt? Like, that's just so un-Chiefs-like to do something like that. And that, I just think that it came back and bit them. This team, it wasn't like they weren't getting big plays because they always get big plays. They just had a lot of mistakes and sloppiness to this game. And maybe it kind of, kicks them in the high gear going forward, because I do think there was a lot of mistakes that they can fix.
Yeah. Again, we should give credit to the Chargers defense as well. Obviously, they made some very good plays as well. Also, about the no-look pass thing, it's like my kind of thought was like, okay, sure, maybe it was unnecessary for the no-look part. He still hit the receiver in his hands. You know what I mean? Like, he still got to catch the football. Like, if he makes that catch and scores a touchdown, everyone talks about how great Mahomes is. It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah. It was a good throw. So there's nothing really you could say about it. It was a little behind, but at the same time, it's a catchable ball. So
yeah,
nothing you can really complain about that.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Although I guess one final thought, actually. Are we buying a different team other than the Chiefs? Could be, the last place Kansas City Chiefs could be, will the Chiefs still be winning this division in a few months?
I'll say yes for right now. I think the one thing that we've noticed, there's still a couple teams this year that I really have no feeling for. And we're going to talk about one of them with the Broncos, because it's just like, okay, your schedule has made this really easy for you. You look good, you're undefeated, but I need to see a little more. So I'm willing to bet that they're still probably going to win the division right now, but it's a long season. So we'll see if they can turn it around and what these other teams shake out to be.
Yeah, I think so as well. And again, there's the whole Andy Reid health issue. So hopefully everything's okay there, but maybe that factored in as well. I don't know. I don't even know if that was, but anyways. Well, you brought him up. I guess let's just finish off the AFC West. Why don't we? With this incredible game. Okay, maybe I'm just a biased homer and I can't get it out of my head. I thought Zach Wilson was fine in this one. I didn't think he was that bad. Like the two interceptions were both late in the game when he's final 5 minutes in the game when you're down 26-0. One was a bad pass. The other was just off the receiver's hands. People kept saying he needs to take what the defense gives him. Well, that's what he does. You're not going to have a great stat line when you do that, when you're playing for the Jets. He still had a couple splash plays that were dropped by the receivers. Like, have we learned nothing from this whole Sam Darnold debacle, which we'll get to in a second? Like, being in a situation does matter, and being without any talented receivers whatsoever, it's going to make you look worse. He still had some issues. I'm not saying he was good, but again, when we talk bad versus concerning, there wasn't really anything that felt concerning to me, and I do feel like I saw some improvements from last week. That's how I felt about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that the problem is that I don't think everybody understands the difference between bad and concerning. Like I said, there's still, good plays being made here. We could talk about concerning in a little bit, but I think that there was some good plays here. That's what I continue to say about this guy. They're not going to win a lot of games this season, and he's not going to look good in a lot of games this season, especially when he's going up against maybe the best secondary in football. So I just think that's a tough situation to really, excel in. But at the same time, we keep looking at it. We keep, we're very harsh on these rookie quarterbacks. We're ready to say these guys are all busts after week 3. Look at how all of them have played. Not all 4 of these guys are going to be bad going forward, and they all were terrible this week. And it's just because on that scale, they're going to look terrible. On a normal scale, you take some things that you say, hey, this was a positive, but there's also things to learn from this game. And Wilson's going to continue to go through those growing pains.
Yeah, and listen, I want my next point is that there's things he absolutely has to get better at. Like one of the big things is the way he scrambles. Like when you want to scramble, you have to make that decision quicker. When you decide that's what you're going to do, you have to go in the NFL. In college, you can kind of wait like 4 seconds and then go. And Zach Wilson's, he's hanging on to the ball a little bit too long, then trying to scramble and getting himself into trouble a little bit. That's something I've noticed. Again, the interception wasn't great. He didn't see Justin Simmons coming along the side. That's kind of one of those, like on paper it works, but in practice it wasn't. But yeah, I mean, I think, there was also just a couple of miscommunications with, it looked like with Elijah Moore, where Elijah Moore kept going and Wilson threw it short of him. So there's some clear issues there. It's not like he's playing like fantastic by any means, but we also saw some good stuff. We saw him sort of running an offense for a little bit, but there was nothing open. He throws the ball away. Last week, everyone said he needs to throw the ball away more. This week, he throws the ball away, and everyone's saying, well, his numbers aren't high enough. It's like, well, yeah, like, what do you want him to do?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. So it was it's still an impossible situation for him, especially the teams he's playing right now. I know he's still going to play like the Dolphins and stuff like that. So he's going to have some tough games ahead of him. Let's see how he looks against, I think they played the Falcons coming up. And it's like
Titans next week, Falcons the week after.
Yeah, so he has some games here where he can possibly put up some numbers. So we'll see how he does there. Obviously, I'm not out on any of these guys after this season. Just like I'm not out on any of the rookies from last season until I see more. There's just not enough data right now.
Yeah, especially 3 weeks in when he's played 3 good defenses. And okay, let's talk about the Broncos for a second. I don't really know exactly what to make of this, but hey, they're blowing out. They've given up 26 points in 3 weeks of football. I don't care who you're playing. That's good. They seemingly are at least a fringe playoff team.
They're going to be competitive. I really don't know. I mean, this is one of those teams
that's fair.
Like, I don't know. I want to see more. I want to see more from a couple of these undefeated teams still, and this is definitely probably number 1 on my list. Bridgewater's looking pretty good in this season. He looked pretty good today too, despite not having to do a whole lot because it was over by the first quarter. The running game wasn't too great in this game. Tim Patrick had a decent game, so it's just like there's a bunch of things that it's like, all right, that was pretty nice, but we'll see. This is way too small of a sample size to judge this team.
Yeah, to play the Ravens, the Steelers, the Raiders, and the Browns the next 4 weeks. Those are, 3 good teams, and the Steelers. It seems like Steelers still have some good pieces. They were banged up this week. So we should probably know more about them then. Let's move on. Let's go to how about let's go here. Maybe not. It at one point looked like it was going to be the upset of the day. The Cardinals, Jaguars. I talked about there's a couple of plays, 2 plays today where everyone kind of just, there was no one arguing. Everyone was just in awe. One of those was that 109 kick return for a touchdown. That was awesome. We got to start off there. Start off there. How cool was that play, Kyle?
Very cool. Here's the question, though. Should we really attempt 68-yard field goals?
Yes, I think we should, just because it's fun. Entertainment value above all else.
I mean, this is the perfect example of, should you just throw the Hail Mary or should you kick the field goal? Because statistically, Hail Mary is a lot harder to run back than a field goal. I mean, it was kind of goofy to go out there and do it, but I guess if you have Matt Prater, you give it a shot. And it came back and hurt you. My Cardinals lock of the week for -7 was never in doubt, though, even though down 19-10. Another play I'm not a huge fan of. A flea flicker deep in your own territory with a rookie quarterback.
Disagree. I love the flea flicker. This is the pro flea flicker podcast.
I'm okay with the flea flicker at like the 40-yard line. I'm not a fan of the flea flicker at the 20-yard line with a rookie quarterback.
I just think it was a horrible decision by Trevor Lawrence to make the throw. That's all I think. Like, I think it was a fine play call. I think it's like, hey, Trevor Lawrence, maybe don't throw it directly to an Arizona player for a pick six that basically just completely screws over your team.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair too. So,
and I also should say, I liked what I saw from Trevor Lawrence in this one. Like, he had, the one of his interceptions was literally like a caught ball that was then juggled up and turned into an interception. The pick six was awful, but other than that, he showed some real flashes. And I think this, out of this week of the rookie quarterbacks we saw, he probably had the best performance of the four, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. I thought he did a good job. The touchdown throw was a really good throw. The James Robinson, whatever doghouse he was in before, he seems to be out of it. He got some touches in this one. Or maybe Urban Meyer just realized that this guy, even though he didn't go to Ohio State's pretty good. I thought there were some good things out of the Jaguars offensively. A couple bad turnovers, obviously, that hurts. You learn from it and go forward. I thought it was a solid performance from the Jaguars, even in the loss. Kyler Murray continues to look like Brett Favre. I'm continuing to double and triple down on this. The pick was so ridiculous. Like, what are you trying to accomplish there? But then he just comes back and makes all these plays, gets them down to the red zone. James Conner poaches some touchdowns, and you're rolling.
Yeah. First, we have a super chat. Once Daniel Jones gets help, he will win MVP. Probably. I think we all agree on that. I think. How about this as a take? Kyler Murray, is he the most exciting player in football? Could you make that argument? I think he might be. To me, Lamar's up there, but he might be the most exciting player in football.
I think
just
so, because
to watch.
He gives and he takes away too. So I think that he makes some interesting. He definitely makes some interesting decisions, but the ability to throw the deep ball like that, and the receivers he has, and the things he can do, the way he can extend plays, you understand it too. At the same time, he's just electric at the same time. So it's an incredible thing for him. AJ Green, what a game! AJ Green,
he's back.
An AJ Green sighting, so that was cool. So yeah, I mean, I'm still interested in Arizona, but this is another one where it's like they're lower on my totem pole than like Carolina and Denver. But this is another team that it's like, what are you exactly? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I think so. I get that as well. We should be clear with this. It's like if the Cardinals lost this game, it would be completely inexcusable. And part of this is like they did give up 7 points on that kick return, so like that obviously doesn't help. But this is the game that they probably should have won handedly and didn't. Although they did, I think, look like the better team throughout this one, and it was just kind of one of those weird games. And I also felt like maybe I don't know. I don't really know what to make of this one because it feels like they're clearly the better team. They just didn't perform particularly great, especially in that second quarter.
Yeah. No, I think that they've looked good against, like, they've had bad moments and they've had good moments against teams that I'm still like think that are kind of bad. Like, I think Jacksonville's bad and they had bad moments in this game. I think Minnesota is pretty average and they had bad moments in that game. And it's just like, obviously the Tennessee game was weird, but it was kind of over early. And that was the one that you're like, oh wow, Arizona's awesome. They haven't quite lived up to the level of that Arizona's awesome in week 1. So I think this is a good team. I just don't know how good it is yet.
Yeah. To finish it off with the Jaguars. So Jacksonville currently sitting at an 18-game losing streak. The record is 26 games. This could happen. They played the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday Night Football. Maybe there's
Loss.
hope. You think you're saying lost, right? I was saying maybe there's a chance. Zach Taylor it up. You also have Tennessee. That seems like a loss. The Miami Dolphins, maybe potential there. I believe that's the London game. You have the Seahawks, the Bills, the Colts, who again, they've had struggles, the 49ers, and then to tie the record, they would play the Atlanta Falcons. So how fun would that be if they had no wins, playing the Atlanta Falcons in a complete tank bowl? Make that happen, NFL. But again, if the Jaguars go 0-17, but Trevor Lawrence looks great, it's a good season.
Yeah. And I think there was some real development this game. So I thought there was less bad decisions. Obviously, like I said, the flea flicker was a bad throw, but there was less bad decisions in this game, and that was the big thing.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we sort of, I made that comparison of like the test at school where they would quiz you that wouldn't be graded, and I would always purposely bomb it so I could do better later on. It's like, hey, guys like Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence who have struggled, well, now we've seen them slowly improve. Why don't we just stay there? Why don't we keep going with that? About the rookie quarterbacks. Let's talk some Bears Browns. This was, 9 sacks in this one for the Browns defense. Some of them were obviously on the offensive line. Some of them were on field. Some of them were on the receiving core. You can't blame them all on the offensive line, but you can certainly blame some of them on the offensive line. This was not a good performance in there. And I think that part of, at a certain point, you almost thought, like, you just put Nick Foles in just this so that Fields doesn't get murdered right here. Also, TJ Levy, I believe it's Levy. You said it in the comments last week that I pronounced your name right, and now I'm in my own head, and I don't want to pronounce it wrong. Levy, I'm pretty sure is how you say it. Giants are officially the worst team in the NFL. Okay, well, there you go. Kyle, what were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, I took a screenshot of this game with 10-13 in the second quarter, and I joked that the Browns and the Bears have been watching too much Big Ten football. At 10-13 in the second quarter, the score was 3-3. Mm-hmm. But the Bears had 1 first down. The Browns had 9. The Bears had run 10 plays. The Browns had won 24. The yardage was 14-105 in favor of the Browns. The passing yards was -9 to 55 in favor of the Browns. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. This was a really tough situation to come in with that Browns defensive line. They were incredible in this game, I guess you could say. I mean, the after the sack yardage in passing downs, the Bears ended up with 1 net yard. In 2021, 1 net yard in passing plays because of sacks. Like, that's Justin Tucker 66-yard field goal was more yards than the Bears had in this entire game.
The Bears, yes, 47 total yards for Chicago. They had 1.1 yards per play in this one. I guess you just have to say yard per play. 1.1 yard per play in this game. I think my favorite stat here is Justin Fields dropped back 32 times and had 6 completions. It's incredible.
Yeah, their biggest play was a 48-yard pass interference by John Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
That was the biggest play of the day for them.
And it wasn't even really pass interference.
It was a terrible call. It was a pick.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I mean, it was bad. Look, I hate to laugh at it. It's a really crappy situation for Justin Fields. But like, we heard all this stuff about. Let's go to this because this is what's interesting to me. They had a couple of gadget plays there that I saw. They had one where they did like a wishbone set in the backfield, which I think got them like 3 yards anyway. So we heard all this stuff about Matt Nagy is designing this playbook, a separate playbook specifically for the Justin Fields set and all this stuff. I have not seen anything different besides of a couple of plays. I have not seen anything different from what Justin Fields is running to what Andy Dalton is running. It looks like the exact same stuff, which is nothing good for the Bears. I don't understand what this stuff is exactly. Why do we keep acting like Matt Nagy's going to figure this stuff out? Like, he should be out of the building now. Honestly, there's nothing that he's providing to this team that I think is worthwhile. And we just saw him throw a rookie quarterback basically out into the fire for no reason. And you can't say Justin Fields failed this team because he was put in a situation to fail. Now, he wasn't great in this game. He made some mistakes, certainly, but he clearly didn't look prepared to come out onto this field and have a situation that was going to help him. I felt like they barely used him to run around, and that's his biggest asset. It just felt like they were having him drop back and hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, this was so. This is a very Matt Nagy performance for sure, and I do think that it's fair. It's like, why not have any like designed runs with Justin Fields? Like, shouldn't that be like a big part of your offense? I think that's my biggest concern about Fields. When the reason why I was a lot lower on him than most people was I didn't really like him as a prototypical drop back passer. But what he does have is he has 4.4 speed, right? And he's built like Cam Newton. So maybe have him run the ball a few times and then have that set stuff up. A lot of people wanted to do more rollouts. They did run a couple of those, but run more. So all of that is fair. I guess, I typically sort of go against the narrative on where my take is. So, like, for example, if I think that, if people are saying Tom Brady played amazing and I thought he just played good, I might sound like I'm being negative on him, but I just don't think he played as well as the media or just fans in general feel. I feel like, Matt Nagy is getting a lot of blame for this one, and rightfully so. Like, there were plays that were legit working, and like Justin Fields just didn't make that throw. Like, that also was a factor as well. So it all worked. It was a perfect storm. Everything was horrible. Matt Nagy was horrible. Fields was, Fields looked like a project quarterback playing his first start. That's how I felt about him. I don't hate Justin Fields. I think he actually, again, there's a lot of stuff to like about him, just not in the Matt Nagy offense. The receiving core was the worst part of this game, in my opinion, and the offensive line was, right behind them. Just a mess all across the board.
Yeah, and it just seems inexcusable with Justin Fields and David Montgomery in your backfield that you don't have. It didn't seem like they had a single RPO. It really didn't. It didn't seem like they had any sort of read option situation. It didn't seem like they had anything like that. And that's your best asset, is having a fast quarterback who can move around and having David Montgomery, who is a good running back. And you're just not doing anything to help your guy out. It's not necessarily about winning the game. You want to put together some decent plays at least, because you're not going to win this game. This was 26-6. It felt like it should have been 45-6. And it just, what was that?
I was going to say, when this game was 3-3, I was going to say this is the biggest blowout that's a tied game in NFL history, because it was it was so clearly one-sided, and the Browns had, we should also mention the Cleveland Browns played in this game as well. That's something that happened. They had, multiple fourth down failed conversions in this one, but as a whole, I mean, you could argue that they got off to a slow start, but I think those fourth downs kind of made things different. Odell Beckham Jr. is back. Hey, maybe the Browns are better off when they have a top 10 receiver in football. Maybe that helps them in football. Maybe it helps you to win football games when you have people who are good at football.
He had some really impressive routes in this game too. Like, really good catches. You give credit to the Browns. They were good in this game. Like, the defense was incredible. Baker was good. The running game, Kareem Hunt's just an absolute animal. I would probably give my left leg right now to get a guy like Kareem Hunt on the Patriots. I'm not even kidding.
Could you imagine if you could have like a Kareem Hunt or maybe like a Nick Chubb, if somehow you had an opportunity to get one of those guys on the Patriots?
I know, right? If only we had a chance to draft one of those guys. I would kill that. Hunt is just insane. You have
Damian Harris. He's a really good back also.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't play today, so that's a good question.
Anyways, back to the Browns.
Well, Hunt might be one of the best screen pass running backs I've ever seen in my life. Like, every time he gets it, it's so smooth, and it seems like he's always getting 25 yards. It's just he was really good in this game. The Browns are really good. You could say the Browns are good, but I continue to just go back to the Bears. Like, I got a lot of crap in our AFC North preview because I say I hate watching this team. It's nothing against Bears or Bears fans or the city of Chicago.
Right.
It's just, I hate this team. I hate watching it. I hate the way they operate. I hate everything about it.
No, listen, we'd all love for the Bears to be good. Whenever there's one of those historic franchises, it's more fun when they're good. I hate the Soldier Field all-22 footage, but other than that, they're very good. But yeah, it's Matt Nagy. That's when we complain about the Bears, we complain about Matt Nagy and just this, and the offense as a whole and just the ineptitude. You're an offensive genius who's had horrible offenses for a while. Also, just realized we are 50 minutes into this podcast, so I was going to try to make this one quicker. Not doing a great job here with these 16 game ones, but let's try to plow ahead here. We will move on unless you had any other final thoughts on that.
No, we can keep going. I think we've made fun of the Bears enough.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to your team, Saints
Ugh.
Patriots. Yes, we have to talk about it. We'll do my team next because this was a rough week for both of us. But when you're going into the buzzsaw that is Jameis Winston, this is just what's going to happen.
And he wasn't even very good in this game.
No.
I mean, I think the one thing that was impressive with the Saints, I said it last week, it's like any game that Kamara gets 14 touches, which is what he had last week, is just inexcusable. He had 6 after the first 2 possessions, 6 touches total. And it's just like he's going to keep going. He ended up, I think, with like 29 touches, 24. Let me look at the numbers here.
It'd be 24 rushes with 3 catches as well.
And an additional target that wasn't completed. But still, I mean, he was just really good in this game. The thing is I watch some of these teams that we play, and it's just like the difference between Demario Davis and what we have right now with Hightower and Jawan Bentley is just extremely noticeable. Demario Davis is an absolute menace in coverage. We do not have the speed defensively to cover with these linebackers. Jawan Bentley cannot cover as a linebacker. Kyle Van Noy got completely beat on the Kamara touchdown. It's like, oh, you're going to leave Alvin Kamara wide open for a touchdown. That's a good idea, And it's just like there's things like that. I'm not even getting into the offense like that. I think the defense is a tad overrated. I honestly do. I think this defensive line is incredible. Gottschall is really good in the running game, even though Kamara still got his in this one. I still think he's been pretty good. Matthew Judon's been a menace. Dietrich Wise even had a good game in this one. So I know the Saints were dealing with some injuries on the offensive line, but I think this defensive line is pretty good. I think without Gilmore out there and with these coverage linebackers, it's not a very good defense.
Yeah, well, what's interesting about this game is neither team moved the ball that well. In fact, the Patriots actually had a higher yards per play at 4.3 than the Saints 4.1. I feel like it's a very, one of the all-time misleading stat lines of Mac Jones, 3 interceptions, because really none of them were, if my memory serves me, none of them were really his fault. What did you think about Mac Jones in this one?
He was fine. Like you said, the first one, the first one was unfortunate because he got hit as he was letting go. He had the check down wide open. It would have been a catch. The second one was Jonnu Smith apparently decided to show up like at the end of the third quarter because he had like 5 targets and 0 catches going into that play. Completely just fumbles the catch into the Saints guy's hands, and it's returned for a touchdown. And then the third one was it looked like a miscommunication, or I don't know if someone had the wrong play because he threw it outside. I think Aguilar cut inside. It just ended up in Lattimore's hands basically that way. So, I mean, it wasn't.
It was also with like 15 seconds left, though. So you're down 2 scores. You kind of have to throw it down the field.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we'll get into this. So the offense looked sloppy. I think that there was a lot of problems with it. I don't think Mac Jones was good. But yeah, I mean, I think some of the stuff was not his fault. But at the same time, like, he definitely had happy feet in this game. He had a chance finally to hit Aguilar in the end zone, and he threw it. He missed the throw. That was a bad throw. That was probably his worst throw of the day. He had a touchdown. But overall, it's just like, it's getting harder and harder to defend Josh McDaniels, honestly. Because some of the stuff that I'm seeing is like, it just doesn't make sense. He goes and completes 5 passes in a row. Then you get down to like the 10-yard line, and it's Brandon Bolden up to the right side for no gain, and then Brandon Bolden to the right side for -1 yards. We had another 3rd and 1 situation where it's Brandon Bolden to the right side again. Not only is Brandon Bolden our 4th running back, who's basically a special teams guy all the time, Brandon Bolden is running at our backup right tackle, who I think Cameron Jordan was on, because we haven't had Trent Brown since the first game of the season. How does that make any sense? I would if I would get anything to ban the halfback toss in the Patriots offense. That stupid weak side toss play is the dumbest play I've ever seen. I've never seen it get more than 3 yards, and I've always seen it get negative yards. I would ban that stupid play. I just don't get a lot of the stuff that they're trying to do. It seems like when they're planning these deep shots, the deep shots aren't actually planned. It doesn't really seem to make sense. And then we also just have receivers that can't get open too. Like they had a play too on a 3rd down where they blitzed 7 guys. Jacoby Myers got doubled across the middle because the safety came down in coverage, and there was still nobody open. So if one receiver is attracting 2 guys and they're blitzing 7, how is nobody winning a one-on-one battle in that situation? Kendrick Bourne seemed like the only guy who can get open today. And
he had a great play.
Yeah, he had a really good play on the touchdown. He had a couple other catches that were nice, but it just seemed like nobody was getting open. The play calling made no sense. I think there was a lot of issues with this team right now, especially on the offense side of the ball. And I think it starts with McDaniels and what they're trying to do. It doesn't seem like there's a plan. There doesn't seem like a plan to this team and what they want to do.
Yeah, Patriots averaging just 18 points per game. So, like you said, it's tough. And the one thing maybe we could say on the flip side is the Saints are healthy now, and maybe this just last week was kind of just them not being at 100%. They do look back now that they have I mean, again, losing the players, the laundry list of players they didn't have last week. That was a factor for sure. So, also I have to imagine as a Patriots fan, it must just be infuriating being on the wrong side of one of those Jameis Winston as he's falling down, chucks it up, Marquez Callaway. As a Buccaneers fan, I know both the highs and lows you see of that. So I imagine playing against him, it's very similar.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Jones held on the play too, and he still caught it. It's just like, okay, that's going to happen. But I mean, overall, the pick six was one thing. I just felt like there wasn't any reason that we shouldn't be able to compete with this team. Give credit to the Saints, though. Kamara was really good in this game, as he should have been, and how he needs to be basically this whole season. And that when that coverage unit's healthy, with Davis, with those guys at the back, it's a really good coverage unit, too. So they did a really good job in this game. Give them a ton of credit for the win. There's just a lot of things I'm frustrated with the way this Patriots team's looking.
Yeah. Also, whoever stole Jonnu Smith's hands and replaced them with a couple sticks of butter should probably
Oh, Jackson. Hello? Did anybody else lose Jackson, or is it just me? All right. Well, yeah, as he was saying that, Jonnu Smith was really bad in this game. Like I said, I think he had 5 targets in the first half and didn't catch any of them. And I think he had 2 drops in that situation too. So there was just there was just bad Patriots football. And it's just, as I continue to talk about the Patriots, because this obviously is my team and that's how I look at it. It's not even like when we've had bad rosters too in the past, specifically that last Brady season, we didn't stink. We didn't make mistakes. We weren't undisciplined. There was mistakes in this game. There was undisciplined play in this game. That obviously hurts. I think the one thing this team has going for it was the offensive line or the defensive line against the Saints, but the Saints were able to overcome it. The Saints look like a decent team. So, I think they're going to be solid in the NFC South. I don't know what Jameis Winston, what the ceiling is of this team, but I think they could be a solid playoff team potentially. They got to get through the Buccaneers and the Panthers, though, right now, who are undefeated. So, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about that game. Anybody got any questions you want to throw my way? I can try and answer them off the top of my head while we wait for Jackson to return. Johnny canceled Jackson. Yeah, honestly, he might have at this point. So, man. Saints are good, but I don't see them beating out the Bucs or the Panthers. I might feel that way too. I still don't really know how I feel about the Panthers, honestly. I know they beat the Texans, but this has just kind of been a weird team. But the defense is nasty. How do you feel about Brady going back to play New England? I'm excited for it just because I think it's going to be a cool game. I'm not excited for the storylines. I still listen to WEEI radio, and they've been going nuts about it basically since last Sunday. So I think that this is going to be a interesting game. We're probably going to get obliterated, so we'll see what happens there. Broncos overrated thoughts. I don't think that defense is overrated. I think that's a good defense, and I think that's going to keep them in a lot of games. If Bridgewater continues to play this decent, I think that they can be a playoff team. I don't know if Bridgewater is going to continue to play this decent. Like Bridgewater never had almost 10 yards per pass attempt in his career, and he had it in this last game, and he's had a lot in this season. So we'll continue to go on that. Still waiting on Jackson here. He's restarting his router. That's his update for me. So his entire internet crashed. That's good news. Chargers Raiders. Who you got for a game or for the season? For a season right now, gun to my head, I honestly might pick the Raiders the way they're playing. That defense is just that defense I feel like is just legit. I feel like it's figured some things out. Max Crosby has been sensational. I think they can throw the ball. I still believe Josh Jacobs is going to figure some things out on the ground. I know he didn't play today. I think that's going to be a good team. I do like the Raiders overall. I still think the Chargers. I mean, I could see all three of those teams making the playoffs. I could see all four of those teams making the playoffs. But it's hard to believe that the Chiefs are last in that division, as Will says. First coach to be fired. I mean, it feels like it's got to be Nagy right now. I think the Bengals have a pretty good roster, and that's keeping Zach Taylor alive. Maybe it's Mike Zimmer, but the Vikings also just got to win, so you can't really say that. Matt Nagy definitely feels like the runaway for that right now. Is it too soon to say Cooper Kupp is a top 10 wide receiver in the league? Absolutely not. No, I don't think so at all. Cooper Kupp's been really good this season, and with Matthew Stafford, he's definitely looked the part. So he's definitely looked the part of a top 10 receiver, maybe even higher if you want to rate him that way. I'm trying to get to all these questions. I'm just seeing them as they come in. You think the Pats can beat the Bucs next week? Not really. Talent-wise, we definitely have no chance. But like based on even the Patriots beating the Ravens last year, we've won some weird games too. So maybe that happens. I'm still not betting on it. I don't think that we can do it right now based on the way they've seen this offense play. And like I said, I don't trust Josh McDaniels at all right now with the way the play calling is. Is Hunter Renfrow a true number 3? I mean, he might be their number 2 right now, honestly. So he's been really good this season. Third and Renfrow is real. He's been really good for this team. And him and Waller are definitely the 1-2 combination where, Henry Ruggs can hit the deep shot. That's been the big thing for them. Brown's final record, 12-5 feels right. I'm not going to go through the wins and losses, but 12-5 feels like good enough for this team. I think they're going to be a 2 or 3 seed. Still nothing from Jackson here, so keep the questions coming in. Is Urban Meyer in over his head? I still think it's too small of a sample size to judge Urban Meyer. A couple of these games were really shocking. So maybe, but at the same time, like I've still seen Urban kind of boss the league in the NCAA, so maybe he figures it out. So I don't know. It's still too early for me. Do you hate the Giants or Eli Manning more? I really don't feel either way towards either of those teams. I think I've said about this. Eli, it stunk because we should have won 2 Super Bowls. The Jets, I mean, we beat them for years. Obviously, the Sanchez years were a little weird. But the 2 rivals for the Patriots were the Ravens and the Colts. And I'll never like those teams, I'll be honest. I can speak about them fairly, but I'll never like those teams. Jamar Chase, last I saw was plus 750 for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think that's really good odds right now, especially with the way the quarterbacks are playing. He could actually end up sneaking in and winning that one. He's been really good this season. He's been a really good receiver. I mean, him and Burrow have just hit it off. So I think that they've been really good. And I think he's been a big part of the reason for their success. So still nothing from Jackson here. Let's see if we got an update from him. Nothing yet. So still going in with the question. MVP through 3 weeks. Probably Stafford. Stafford's been really good. Carr's a close number 2 for me. I think that those 2 have been really good. Brady's still there for me, even though they lost today. He was still good in this game too. So I think those guys are still really good. Thoughts on Kirk Cousins? Kirk Cousins was really good today. I mean, he still doesn't have an interception this season. I thought he delivered an absolute masterclass against Seattle, so that was a really good thing. So, yeah, Kirk's been really good. Mac Jones comparison to early Tom Brady. Obviously, I don't think it's as good, but I think there's some similarities, honestly. I really do. I think Brady, one of the things that I've noticed with Brady back in those days was that as far as like a play action passer and some of the things that he just had in command of the offense, I thought he was really good. They didn't ask him to do a whole lot back then. Antoine Smith was pretty good. Those early days, they had David Patton, RIP. They had Troy Brown, who made a lot of plays too, and they had an incredible defense. So Brady kind of had it easy, but at the same time, like just how quick he was out of the play action, how quick his release was, everything just looked kind of in sync. And I think Mac's getting there. I just think it's going to take some time. Brady had his lumps too that rookie year too. So let's see what else we got. Are the Steelers tanking? They might as well be at this point because they look really bad. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Kyle Def watched F1 this morning, masterclass. I did watch F1 this morning. I got my McLaren hat right here. Going with McLaren. Devastating finish there for devastating finish there for Lando Norris. I thought they could have had a second place finish or second first place finish in a row. Weren't able to get it. Just the beginning of a bad day for me. Why is nobody talking about Atlanta passing on Chase and Sewell for Pitts? I mean, I still think Pitts was pretty good. He didn't have a good game this week, but I still think he's had a good game season overall. He kind of came alive, had a big play there in the fourth quarter too. So, I still think Pitt's is going to be really good. Obviously Chase has been fantastic, but I don't know if Chase necessarily goes into Atlanta and has the same sort of effect. So, did Allen redeem himself totally today against Washington football team? I mean, I wasn't really out on Allen. I was a little concerned about the Buffalo Bills offense, but at the same time, they were really good before that, and I think they're still really good. And Allen looked really good in this game. I thought this was more of an indictment on the Washington football team defense, which continues to show that it's just bad. Honestly, it preyed on a lot of bad quarterbacks early or late last season, and the defense looked good. But the defensive line that we thought was going to be dominant hasn't looked so dominant, and the coverage is just atrocious. So, yeah, I mean, I still think Bills are good. I still think the passing game's good. I'm more concerned about Washington's defense, which I thought was going to be pretty good. How big of a deal is KC at 1-2? I'm not worried yet because it's Kansas City and they have the best quarterback in the league still, I think. So we'll see how they adjust, but I think they're going to be fine overall. It's just a really competitive division. That's why it looks bad right now. If they're in the AFC East, they'd be perfectly fine. So I'm not concerned about Kansas City yet. What else we got here? Carr for MVP. I think he's in the conversation right now. Super early. And here we go.
Okay.
He's back.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So as you can see, if you're watching the YouTube, somehow we've gained like 50 people since this went off. Maybe I should just leave. So thank you. Yeah. So my internet's completely down. I don't know what's going on. AT&T, the absolute worst. Anyone who's thinking about getting AT&T, don't. They're the worst company and just the worst company out there. Worse than ISIS.
Wow. Hot take. All right. So
let's see if I can set up my phone somewhere.
Okay. So thank you for everyone bearing with us. Jackson is back now, so we're going to keep going through this. Obviously, we just finished the Saints and Patriots, so where do we want to go next?
I like all these Jonnu Smith cursed you comments. Yes, that's very good. I believe we can do the banners here as well. So I think we're good here. All right. So I'm glad we can at least try to get this done. Okay, so we have a few games left. We got all that, right? We can move on?
Yes. I've definitely covered the Patriots.
All right. Yeah. Sorry about it. I restarted my router. I was running back and forth. I have some sort of like weird warning thing on my screen. Like the internet's working. I don't know. Internet stuff drives me crazy. It's just work. All right. So let's talk Buccaneers Rams. Should be an interesting show for all the audio only listeners. I mean, I could start this one off, I guess, since I am the resident Buccaneers fan. It was disappointing for sure, but at the same time, it's kind of just like when you lose as many players as we lost, you're going to struggle, especially against a really good Rams team. I think maybe the more interesting story actually is that this Rams team is good. This Rams team is legit. They are in my opinion, a true championship contender at this time. And maybe we should start looking at them as potentially the favorites to win the NFC. Although I also think back to the Rams have historically had some hot starts and cooled off, including the year that they went to the Super Bowl, but they did cool off towards the end of that season.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said last Wednesday that I view kind of 3 or 4 teams in the NFC that are the legit teams. And honestly, they might be the 3 or 4 best teams in the league right now, just overall. And these are definitely 2 of the teams. I could see these 2 teams rematching in the NFC Championship game. I mean, I guess going off what you said, I think the Bucs are fine. I wouldn't be too concerned. I think they showed they can move the ball in the secondary, which was the big thing. Brady was good in this game. The receivers were pretty good in this game. They can't run the ball, but we don't want them to run the ball anyways. Here's my question for you. As we continue to see this, who is going to cover the Rams this season? Because now that I'm looking at it, so I was looking at, I had you send me this, Pro Football Focus coverage grades. We have it through week 2. We don't have week 3 updates yet. But right now, of potential playoff teams in coverage rankings, for the NFC, we have the Panthers at 2nd overall in the NFL. We have the Buccaneers 4th, who they just made Swiss cheese out of.
Mhm.
And then, as you go down, you see like the Cardinals and the Packers at that 9-11 range. Who's covering this team? Like, is this team? Because one of the things I said with the Buccaneers, it's like, yeah, I know they have that advantage on the defensive line with Vea and all that, but the Rams don't need to run the ball anymore. They don't really need to do that kind of stuff. They can just throw the ball a bunch with Stafford, and it's going to work. And it showed once again that running the ball with Stafford's going to work. I just don't know who in the end. I feel like all the best coverages right now in the AFC besides the Rams, and I feel like that they're going to be able to take advantage of that and throw on virtually everybody.
Yeah, no, I mean, like it's a really good, it's kind of the thing where I've kind of joked about it a little bit when I made a video about people keep talking about it's such a great fit, the McVay scheme with Matt Stafford, and it's kind of just like well, yeah, I mean, having a great quarterback and then having a great like offensive mind, like yeah, that does make sense for it to be a great fit. So I don't know. I mean, maybe people can sort of get onto the concepts. I don't know, but like probably not. Like this is probably going to be a really good offense. And I was even thinking to go one step further, is Matt Stafford, could this legit be an MVP season for Matt Stafford? I mean, as of right now, he might even be the front runner.
Well, while you're gone, someone asked me who the MVP was through 3 games of the season. And I said he was 1. I had Carr at 2, and I had Brady at 3 so far, off the top of my head. But, I mean, he's been that good this season. He's been incredible. He was incredible in this game. He picked apart this defense. Him and Cooper Kupp might be the best connection in football outside of Rodgers and Adams, which is insane to say this quickly, but they've just been really good. Looking at JCG's comment, why the fat guy on the right such a hater? What did I do? Who do I hate? I don't hate anybody. I don't hate anybody. I love everybody.
Yeah, what was that? You're talking about how great the Bears or the Rams. I don't know. Maybe he's one of these people that comments wonder like an hour behind, and they're commenting about something earlier.
Yeah, I don't know. I did say while you were gone that I hate the Colts and the Ravens, but I just said that those are my rivals.
Yeah,
everybody
that's
has
fine.
their rivals, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's being. I've noticed people very angry. I don't know if it's quarantine or what, but I thought the amount of angry comments like I've received this year has been unparalleled in previous years.
Yeah, I mean, you know who else is always angry, and I don't get why. Jalen Ramsey always seems angry. Why is he so upset all the time?
I think that's just a cornerback thing. Like I thought Josh Norman was that way, like Richard Sherman. Like I think just like being a corner, you have to play angry. I guess. I mean, you're trying to make someone not be happy with catching a football. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, the funny thing is I played corner, and maybe this is why I was so bad. I was never angry on the field. So I don't know. Corners are a rare breed, though. They're kind of different. There'll be a ball 5 yards over the head of the receiver, and they'll wave their finger like they made the play. Corners are just different.
Yeah, I think I agree. Any final thoughts on this one?
I mean, I didn't really have much of an opinion on these two teams. I thought the Rams were really good, and I still think they're really good. And I thought the Bucks were really good, and I still think they're really good. So I still see these teams playing down the line again. I think it's going to be a great rematch.
Yeah, I think maybe one thing you could say is with this the Rams defense really is kind of that perfect blend with the sort of quarters coverage, but it's really hard to run on them because they have like the Aaron Donald type. It almost makes you feel like, hey, maybe Tampa Bay should do something like this. But, Todd Bowles will never not blitz, except for once.
I'm really excited. I'm interested to see the Rams against the Packers, honestly. I want to see that man-to-man look of those guys in the secondary against this Rams offense. That's probably the one matchup I'm really interested in seeing.
Yeah, I think so as well. All right, let's move on now. Where should we go here? Not a ton left. We could go maybe like Colts Titans. I think kind of a surprise was that we ended up seeing Carson Wentz in this one. That was interesting. And I feel like with this one, even though the Titans won and do look like the better team, I do feel like it's a little bit clunky with them.
It is at times. Even like I thought this was Tannehill's best game of the year, and he was still kind of messy at times. Derrick Henry continues to be Derrick Henry, which is just unreal. They continue to work him in the passing game, which I like. But yeah, I mean, overall, AJ Brown got hurt in this game, and I think that also added to it. But yeah, I mean, there's something off with this passing game still. Now, the good news is that there's been something off with this passing game, and they're 2-1 and leading this division. So you feel good about that. But when are you going to start to figure some of these things out where, we both had Tennessee a little higher than I think most people because we thought this offense was going to be awesome again. We need to see that offense be awesome again before we really have it back at that level.
Yeah, I think I agree. And again, I do think that Arthur Smith losing it for the Titans kind of affects that a little bit. Also, I thought Carson Wentz was like fine, but there isn't a lot of stuff for him to do in this Indianapolis offense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really get this offense. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand like what they try and accomplish. Like, he looked like a quarterback who was trying his hardest on 2 sprained ankles, and I mean, so it's really hard, I think, to succeed in that situation. But like, they weren't down by like a crazy amount of points at any point in this game, and yet like Jonathan Taylor gets 10 touches, and of course, I mean, Nyheim Hines is a good receiving back, but he doesn't do anything in the passing game either. I'm a big fan of using your running backs in the passing game because it frees them up to run the ball too. Using them in screens to kind of, get rid of some pressure. I'm a big fan of doing that kind of stuff. And the Colts just don't seem interested in doing any of that with Taylor, which I don't necessarily get. So I don't know. It just seems weird that I know they were playing from behind, so they had to throw the ball a little bit more. But like, you need to give Taylor more than 10 touches.
Yeah, I think that my internet's back. So let me try and see if I can get on there here. I'll give one more thought, let you talk while I try to get back in here. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with the Jonathan Taylor thing. It's like he's kind of what your team is a little bit built around is the running game. And I think that obviously teams are going to try to stop it. But you got to figure out ways to get him going. You don't have the receiving talent to just throw the ball down the field constantly, especially with kind of an okay quarterback right now with Carson Wentz.
Yeah, and especially if he's that hurt, like he didn't practice all week. They talked about his ankle stuff and how bad his ankles were. There's just it seemingly makes no sense to then put him back there and have him throw the ball. What was it? He threw the ball 37 times and was sacked twice. So what is that? 39 dropbacks essentially? Like that just seems such a disservice to a guy who's basically hobbling on no ankles to say, "Hey, drop back 39 times and figure this out."
Yeah. All right. We're back here. Quite the adventure here. Again, I so wish that my apartment would let me have any other internet other than AT&T. Worst company in the world. Anyways, yeah, back to the, Colts. I mean, this is a real disappointment for the Indianapolis Colts, right? I mean, this is a team that we thought would be at least playoff contenders. I think I was low on them and had them as like just missing the playoffs. Right now, they're 0-3. At a certain point, if things continue this way, like, they play the Dolphins, they play the Ravens. If they lose another one of those games and are 1-4, like, depending on how the rest of the season goes, you might see Carson Wentz sit out for like 5 games just so you can make sure that you keep your first round pick. Because at this point, it might end up being a top 10 pick. Yeah.
I mean, they're dropping the games now, and that's definitely not where you want to be. Well, this team still looks competitive. Shout out to the alma mater again, Valdosta State, Kenny Moore with the interception. That was sick. But at the same time, like, yeah, I mean, this team seems competitive in games, but you also got to win games. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing with this team right now. I don't know what it was. I don't know. We'll see what happens with them, but they just don't. It might be just the end of that season from hell for them.
Yeah, it's been tough. I mean, again, ever since Andrew Luck retired, they've had struggles. Also, this is a big Derrick Henry game, not just with his numbers, 4 yards per carry. That's not anything crazy, but just what he set up as well. I mean, this kind of just goes to show the value of that elite back, not just in what he actually brings to the table, but the impact that defenses have to play against him. So should mention that as well. Derrick Henry, good at football.
Yes, he is. He did a lot in this game, just moving the piles too. And, just the ability to kind of fall forward even when there's not a play there, I think is just huge for this team.
Yeah, Seth Laughlin says talk about the Titans defense. Titans defense was good as well. I mean, again, 16 points. They weren't holding anyone to 16 points last year. So, and they got Zach Wilson next week. So congratulations to them. Back-to-back good performances.
Yeah, the defense definitely played better in this game. You have to feel good about that. The Colts offensive line, is it bad?
It might be bad. It's banged up too, though. So it's injured.
Yeah.
The current state is not good.
Yeah, I know Quentin Nelson got hurt in this game too. That obviously hurts a lot, but it just might be bad because they've looked bad in a lot of games, and then we've seen like everyone was ready to say the Seahawks had the best pass rush in the league after playing the Colts. That might not be the case.
Yeah, I think I agree. All right, ready to move on to another game?
Yeah, we can move on.
All right, let's talk Balls Bills. The Bills are all the way back. This was they let the balls in it for a second. There was an awesome Antonio Gibson big play, but for Josh Allen, who kind of had some struggles weeks 1 and 2, no struggles here. We saw some flashes of Emmanuel Sanders last week, but this week he really had a big game, multiple touchdowns along with 94 yards. Josh Allen, 358 yards on 43 attempts, which seemingly is the exact kind of game that the Bills want to have. Him throwing the ball 40 times and 4 touchdowns, no picks. The Bills are back.
Yeah, I had a couple questions this while your internet stuff was going on. So I'll kind of repeat some of that stuff if you heard it earlier, but we're back to our regular.
If the audience has said it, you don't have to repeat it, but
no, it's fine. It's just, it was just, listen, the Bills, I had a little bit of concern after the first 2 weeks, but I wasn't overly worried. I still thought this offense was going to be fine. I felt like they did need a game like this, and they put it together this week. Like you said, Allen was fantastic. I thought the running backs did a pretty good job too. Zach Moss was good in this game. Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley looked like a nice combination too next to Diggs. I thought everything offensively was working for the Bills. I thought the coverage unit for the Bills looked pretty good in this game too. My takeaway from this is Washington's defense might stink. That's kind of what I took away from this. I know they're playing a tough offense, but one of the things I said is that, they preyed on some bad quarterbacks at the end of the year last year, and that defense looked pretty good in that situation. They haven't been able to cover anybody so far this season. They've really struggled in coverage. This defensive line that we've anointed the best defensive line in the league is not doing enough. William Jackson, who I really liked in free agency, hasn't been good. It's just a lot of bad stuff right now for this defense.
Yeah, it's been, maybe Washington might be, like, them and the Colts are the biggest disappointments. Washington does have a win, but it was kind of a weird win. And again, Fitzpatrick hurt. That does hurt things a little bit. But they've losing to the Bills, there's no shame in that. Losing to the Bills and not really looking competitive. At one point they did make it a 1-score game, but immediately started giving up scores right after that. This is a tough one for a team that had playoff aspirations this season.
Yeah, it was one weird play. It was an Antonio Gibson screen pass that went 73 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, they kind of looked anemic in this game.
Yeah, some bad interceptions. Also, a touching tribute, Mitchell Trubisky going 1 for 1 with 1 yard. A very shout out to his former team there.
Alert Nickelodeon, he's back.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so interesting game. Also, Bills defense, underrated. This is the Bills defense. Looks like they're a little bit closer to the 2019 Bills defense than the 2020 Bills defense. So if they can have a good defense along with a good offense, this could be that team that you predicted to go to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl. I
picked them to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
I picked them to beat the Rams in the Super Bowl. That looked pretty good this week.
Yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, I said this last week, I think, too. This looks like a Sean McDermott defense all of a sudden. I think last year I'm willing to chalk up as a blip in the radar because I think they struggled at times defensively last year. It looks back. And I was reading some of the recap stuff on this saying, oh, the defensive line didn't look great in this game. This would have been one of the best games for the defensive line last year. I thought the defensive line did fine today, and I think that they've had better games going forward. I think this has been a really good team.
Yeah, I agree. We will move on now. Let's go to Bengals Steelers. So is Big Ben Roethlisberger dead? Is Big Ben dead?
The Steelers might be dead. I'm ready to say this. I don't know if everybody else is ready to take in this information, but we're serving this up to you free at 12:23 in the morning, September 27th.
Mm-hmm.
The Bengals are better than the Bills. Or the Bengals are better than the. Sorry, I messed that up. Oh man, I was the suspense and everything, and I goofed it.
You're good. Keep it going.
So the Bengals are better than the Steelers. This is a better team right now. They felt like a better team in this game. The Steelers look anemic. I didn't like anything. I know the Steelers are hurt defensively, but I just don't see any situation where I see this team finishing above the Bengals right now. The Bengals can throw the ball. Jamar Chase is plus 750 for Offensive Rookie of the Year right now, and that might be a steal. They can run the ball still. They still run the ball a little too much. But, Joe Mixon's a good running back too, so it helps. They have 2 or 3 receivers. They're not as bad defensively as we thought they were going to be. And I know they were playing the Steelers, which is one thing, but they got some guys that can make some plays. Jesse Bates has been fantastic this season. The Bengals are better than the Steelers.
Yes, Luke Brown, you heard it here first. Bengals better than Bills. Yeah, but is that more a compliment to the Bengals, or is it more an insult to the Steelers at this point? I mean, we should mention, like, the Steelers' entire defense was banged up, but at the same time, it's like, well, their defense wasn't why they lost this game. It's the fact that, that one, I'm not sure if you saw, it's going around of the Roethlisberger, like, on a screen, like a little rollout, like, just throwing it, it just falls down immediately after. It was one of those performances where, Roethlisberger's now had 3 bad weeks back to back. It's definitely starting to get concerning. Yes, he had over 300 yards, but that's one of the more, misleading lines. He threw the ball 58 times, 318 yards. He almost had the fabled 300-plus yard game with having a sub 5 yards per attempt game. This was, Najee Harris was their leading receiver in this one as well. So a lot of those yards came to the halfback. Also, I can't believe I forgot to mention this. Tom Brady with the Buccaneers was their leading rusher. Just incredible stuff there, but that's not about this game. Is this the Steelers are bad, or if the Steelers had a replacement level quarterback, would they be looking better? Should they maybe go out and trade for like a Gardner Minshew or sign a Cam Newton? Those are things that people have brought up.
Well, I think any general manager who watched all of training camp and didn't offer a 5th-round pick for Gardner Minshew should be answering for that right now.
Right.
Especially, I know Big Ben's a legacy guy, so that's really tough to go in and do something like that. But their option now is Dwayne Haskins. No, that shouldn't be an option.
Right.
So,
or, Mason Rudolph is there.
Sure. But at the same time, it's just like, I think it's unacceptable, honestly. And it's been bad quarterback play. He's a bottom 5 quarterback in the league right now, and they don't have an option to fix it. So maybe they can go get, like Luke saying here, Nick Foles. That could be an option. I
don't know about Nick. What it feels like what are we doing here? If we're like, is Nick Foles going to lead them to the promised land?
Is anyone going to lead them to the promised land right now?
Well, not Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just feel like that there are some nice things about this team. I like the receiving core. Harris is trying. He doesn't have an offensive line in front of him, and it really stinks. But he had a good game catching the ball out of the backfield today. So they have some stuff there, but this just isn't a good enough team to make the playoffs with a bad quarterback, bad offensive line, and even though they had some good games earlier this season, the coverage unit looks beatable.
Yeah, someone brought up Nick Foles led the Eagles to the promised land. That is fair. He does have that. Maybe you hope you get that Nick Foles magic, but it seems like that only works in Philadelphia for whatever weird reason. The 2 turnovers for Roethlisberger weren't great as well, obviously. Flip side for the Cincinnati Bengals, I think they feel pretty good about this Jamar Chase selection now. That's worked out very well for them through 3 weeks. He's been putting up incredible numbers and putting up incredible tape on top of that, making things a lot easier for Joe Burrow, who only had to throw 18 times in this game, 172 yards, 3 touchdowns. Mixon also ran the ball 18 times. So keeping that balanced attack, but it worked this time.
Yeah, 13 yards per touch for Jamar Chase. He's been really good. I said it. I think he's really good bet right now for Offensive Rookie of the Year because the quarterbacks are in bad situations. He's been really good, and him and Burrow just basically hit the ground running.
Yeah, should be interesting. And again, Cincinnati had such a chance to be 3-0. We'll probably, playing the Jaguars next week. You already wrote it off as a win. Probably will be a win. Let's move on. 3 games left. We had the Panthers, Texans, Falcons, Giants, Seahawks, and Vikings. Let's go Seahawks, Vikings. This one kind of made it far into the show here. It was an entertaining game for a bit, but, Russell Wilson, I felt like did cool off a little bit. He was looking very good. Had a couple missed throws, and really, it was not there wasn't a ton of possessions in this one. Both offenses did do well. The Seahawks actually outgained or in terms of yards per play, outgained the Vikings in this one. The Vikings pull away with a 30-17 win.
Yeah, This was, I think I tweeted this. This was a Kirk Cousins masterclass. Honestly,
Mhm.
he was so good in this game, just picking this defense apart. I mean, he was really good. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it. He was really good in this game. He picked apart this defense. He had Tyler Conklin working. He had Adam Thielen. He had Justin Jefferson. He had Mattinson working out of the backfield. KJ Osborne made a couple catches too towards the end of the game. I mean, anything Kirk Cousins dialed up, I thought was just really good in this game. I was really impressed with him. I basically watched this whole game because of a lot of fantasy purposes,
Okay.
but I thought he was just really good in this game. I thought he was incredible. And I was watching this game and just like, okay, when's the Kirk Cousins interception happening? It didn't happen. Kirk Cousins hasn't thrown an interception yet this season. I believe in this Vikings offense. I don't know if I believe in this Vikings defense yet. They played really good in the second half, but like, I don't know. It's the same old Seattle stuff that I keep saying. Like, this offense looked really good in the second half, and it's just like I don't know. The Seahawks took a nap in the second half. It's just like they stopped doing stuff.
Yeah, the Seahawks have had real struggle closing games these past 2 weeks. Obviously, blowing the one against the Titans, which really looms large now as they're 1-2 in a very difficult division as well. Justin Jefferson sort of finally had one of those games where he looked okay weeks 1 and 2, but this kind of was a good one. And Alexander Madison, one of the real good backups. I thought Cousins did have a couple of like those classic like taking a sack, and when Cousins takes a sack, it just looks like he's not a football player. Like, and he also had a fumble. He also had a fumble as well, which luckily Minnesota recovered. But yeah, Cousins, the definition of the guy that he only looks like a football player when he's in a clean pocket.
When he's dicing people apart, that's what it is. I mean, I was just impressed with him in this game. I really was. There wasn't a lot of mistakes to be made. Like you said, there was the fumble, but he did get it back. I mean, yeah, I was impressed with Cousins, honestly. So it wasn't a good game for him. Suddenly my Seattle finishing fourth in the NFC West prediction doesn't seem so crazy now, does it?
No, it does not. Again, I would also say, Russell Wilson, not his best. I mean, his numbers are still incredible, and there was just a couple of missed throws late. It was kind of just one of those weird games. I don't really know entirely what happened there. Maybe that's one of those you got to watch the all-22 to really key into exactly what happened. But yeah, kind of an unusual game. Good for the Vikings. They needed this win and they got it.
Yeah, they really needed the win, like you said. Gets them back in the conversation. This is a weird team. Like, they continue to do the weird stuff. They run the ball on first down. There was a lot of times where they ended up in 2nd and 8 all the time because Mattinson gets 2 yards, and then they're still just getting bailed out because this receiving group is nasty. We talk about the Steelers, and there's a couple other teams around there that I'm trying to think off the top of my head that is like, this team knows receivers. They always have good receivers. The Vikings are now in the conversation of this team always has good receivers. This receiving group is nasty. They have 3 guys, plus now with Irv Smith out, Conklin looks like a real guy at tight end too. This is a real good pass catching group.
Yeah, very interesting stuff here with the Seahawks and Vikings. Let's move on. 2 games left. We'll talk about the Thursday game, Panthers-Texans. It was a weirdly fun game. I saw it like broke records of like the Thursday, like it was like one of the most watched Thursday games in some years or whatever, which is just like, it just goes to show how much how the NFL, I mean, they just, whatever they do works. They can throw whatever game on to TV. We're going to watch it. Sam Darnold has looked competent through 3 weeks. I don't know if I would say he's looked spectacular, but he's looked, I would say like aggressively mediocre Sam Darnold is what we've had through 3 weeks.
I mean, he made some good throws in this game. Didn't he fumble the ball twice too in this one though? But they were both recovered.
Yeah, he had some bad pocket presence moments, but people don't really pay attention to that. And again, I think Darnold's just going to be one of those guys where his stat line consistently looks better than his actual game, but he's still playing like pretty good football. And it kind of, again, it goes to show the difference in being in a situation.
Yeah. I mean, it is a good situation. DJ Moore was good in this game. The one thing, I thought they struggled for a little bit after McCaffrey got hurt and then kind of figured things out, put together some scoring drives, put this game away. How much does that affect them going forward? Because I've said it on here a few times, McCaffrey is an absolute cheat code. Not having that out there consistently, if he's going to miss some time, how much does that hurt this team? Maybe with the longer week, he is able to come back. This is probably the other team. This is probably number 2 on my list behind the Broncos of I don't really know yet. I want to see more. I believe in some things. I believe this defense is going to be pretty good. I don't know if it's the number 2 coverage unit in football, which is what Pro Football Focus had it after 2 weeks. I don't know if it's that good, but I think it's at least something. I just don't know how good that something is.
Yeah, and part of that is just like I know, especially if those numbers, like 2 weeks in, the small sample size is going to change some stuff. So even if it's not, they need to value like how you play, not how good you are as a player. So Davis Mills, great neck, all-time neck. That clip of David Coley grabbing Davis Mills' neck. It just wouldn't be all-time like sideline shot of the year probably.
One of the things I said that the Najee Harris tried, Davis Mills tried. He really tried.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of situations to succeed here. And this was another, this was a guy who I think I said it in our, draft stuff that I like him as a prospect, but this was a guy who tore his ACL his senior year in high school to miss his freshman year at Stanford. He got thrown into it because KJ Costello got hurt his redshirt freshman year. Really struggled there, and then got COVID his sophomore year, basically, and then went to the NFL draft. So there was a lot of weird stuff going on with him during his college career. I thought he was a total project. I thought he made some decent throws in this game. He loves Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks had basically all of his passing yards, but he doesn't look awful. But at the same time, we'll see what happens. They're going to give him some chances here. We'll see.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks. Again, unfortunate for him, he has to play for the Houston Texans. I thought Davis Mills was hilarious because he had 4 passes in the first half until that final drive, and then he had one good drive, and that was really it. But it was fun for Davis Mills. But yeah, as a whole, I agree with you. The Panthers, I just want to see more, and they've had a very easy schedule. They look solid in it, but it's they beat the Jets by 5 points, right? So how much do we? It's not that I'm out on the Panthers or anything. I just want to see more before I say oh no, they're good. Play the Cowboys next week and the Eagles the week after. So not juggernauts, but at least better competition, and we'll see how they do against those teams. And they played the Saints, but the Saints, again, as we said, very banged up.
Yeah, missing a ton of guys, missing half their coaching staff. I mean, you give credit to the Panthers because they don't have to give these wins back. You keep these wins all year. You can only beat who's in front of you. But it is still a small sample size. We're still 3/17 of the way through the season.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go on to the final game, Falcons, Giants. Kyle, why don't you give a very in-depth recap of what you thought about this game?
My favorite thing about this was we've been waiting for, I think, over a decade now to figure out how to use Cordarrelle Patterson effectively in an offense.
Mm-hmm.
And Arthur Smith just figured it out. I mean, he just figured out how to use it effectively. He was good in this game. I did not have a lot of eyes on this, I'll be honest. Matt Ryan made some throws. Everyone was complaining about Kyle Pitts dead or something like that. He had a couple big plays in the fourth quarter towards the end that I thought were very, pretty good plays, especially that 25-yard catch. He got the pass interference in the end zone too. So he made a couple plays. I mean, I don't feel too bad about, the way he performed. So I thought the Falcons were fine. I guess the one thing is we're done on the Giants, right? We don't need to talk about this team anymore.
Well, I guess, and I want to see this more, but I guess people, Daniel Jones has weirdly become a competent quarterback, is kind of a solid quarterback is what people are saying. He has done a good job of taking care of the football. To me, this kind of goes back to the thing that I harp on so much. This is what adding receivers does for you, is it makes you look better. I mean, having good receivers, that's the number one way to make a young quarterback look better. If a young quarterback doesn't have receivers, they're going to look a lot worse. We have a commenter saying, as a Giants fan, I think we're going 0-17. I don't think they'll go 0-17. Also, how about this breakout game from Kadarius Toney? 2 catches, 16 yards. Yeah, he's getting it done, Kyle. They said he was going to have a breakout game and be a much bigger part of the offense. Mission accomplished.
He's figuring it out now. Here he comes. I think the one thing I would say, though, the tough thing about the Giants right now, for Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, I think, got hurt in this game. And Kenny Galladay's kind of been in and out of the lineup anyway. So that's a little tough because obviously that's been, having those receivers has been a strength for you. But obviously if you're missing those guys, that's going to be tough. I mean, I don't know. I felt like they should have won last week and they didn't. I didn't really get a vibe of if they should have won this game, but I felt like they were at least in the hunt. So, this team is definitely above the Jets and the Jaguars. So they have that going for them.
Yeah, are these the two most boring teams in football?
I mean, one of them's a Jason Garrett offense, and one of them, has a quarterback that nobody wants there, it seems like, anymore. So maybe.
Yeah, I mean, because at least like teams like the Jets or like the Jaguars, there's the whole like quarterback thing. Also, Jones looks like a top 5 quarterback this year, in my opinion. Is that okay? Right, Daniel Jones. My brain just wouldn't register that Daniel Jones could be considered in a top 5 quarterback. Kyle, buying or selling Daniel Jones MVP discussion at the end of the year?
I'm willing to say I'm going to sell that one. I'll go out on a limb with that. It'll be interesting, though, because I'm interested to see now if he continues this level of play throughout the whole year, but the Giants end up like 4-13? And is this a team that are you all of a sudden off Daniel Jones, or are you bringing him back and trying again? Or is this something where even though you like some of the progression out of Daniel Jones, you need to reset the cap sort of situations? I think there's a lot of questions that are being had about Daniel Jones. But I will say, for someone who's probably been the biggest out on Daniel Jones guy for a couple years now, he's made some good plays throughout these last couple weeks.
I like the Jake Thornton comment. Jones just needs a longer neck. Kyle, do you think Jones should get neck implants?
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to try anything, I guess.
No, I actually think, though, this is probably the worst case scenario for Giants fans is Daniel Jones playing solid, right? Like, that's the absolute, like him playing, like, all right. Like, you want him to either light it up or just suck. Like, him playing this level, just worst case scenario.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're not much in tuned on it, but none of the prospective draft quarterbacks are also blowing anybody away, too.
Right,
so
I've heard that.
Outside of maybe Malik Willis, I don't really know where you go from that too. So
not a big Dylan Gabriel guy?
Well, he broke his clavicle, so that's going to be tough.
What about De'Aaron King? He's exciting.
He's not an NFL guy.
Right. There's some, I know. Yes, interesting stuff. All right. So Kyle, that is our show. Quick one this time. Only an hour and 42 minutes in.
Yeah, that was a fast one. I mean, if you shave off the 10 minutes or so with AT&T dying, it would have been average.
Yeah, and I looked it up. We got week 6 to week 14. That's when we have buys. So, and after it, then we're gonna get to this last 3 weeks. There's gonna be some games we'll just blow by. Early in the season, we're still having fun with some of this stuff. So that's why these shows are going on a little bit long. But hopefully, I think just for Kyle and I's sake of not having stay up till, for me, nearly 2 a.m. on the East Coast here.
Yeah, and I guess we should say we appreciate everyone who stays on the chat until 12:42 Central Time or 1:42 Eastern Time. We appreciate that staying in for the show and giving us your thoughts.
Yes, Connor says, Jackson, let us get your fantasy takes this week. People will constantly ask me for fantasy takes. I'm horrible at fantasy. You don't want my fantasy takes. I always lose. I don't know why. I overthink things way too often. Like when I started a Patreon a little bit back, and I had to quit it because people would I would feel bad because people would donate $10 and be like, I donated this money because I want to get your opinion. Who should I start this week? And I'm like, I have no idea. I'm not a fantasy guy. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you paying me, expecting me to know this stuff? I don't do fantasy.
Yeah, it's a different animal. I think I was looking at Daniel Jones is the number 2 quarterback in fantasy football right now.
Well, fantasy's so weird to me. It's basically the main strategy of fantasy is figure out a running back who's going to get a lot of carries. That's the most important part of fantasy is figure out a running back who's just going to touch the ball a good amount.
Well, it depends because now the way they've countered that is getting points per reception league, so that guys like Kareem Hunt have insane value or better value now because they catch the ball out of the backfield, or wide receivers have higher values now because they get a point per catch too along with it. And then mobile quarterbacks are completely skewed out of the way because rushing stats are higher graded than passing stats. So it's a whole lot of different stuff with that.
It just feels like they designed. I don't know. It's fantasy football. The most important position should be the quarterback. Get it together, fantasy football. Why is a pass catching running back and a mediocre quarterback who runs like those will win you fantasy football? You're doing it wrong if that's the case.
Yeah. So I set up my league that's half PPR. So it limits like you can't have like a 5 catch for like 10-yard game and be good. And then I do 2 quarterback leagues. So we have 12 teams. So 24 quarterbacks are starting per week. And that makes it pretty competitive. It makes it interesting because there's a lot more strategy to that. And like my quarterbacks right now are like Kirk Cousins and Taylor Heineke. And it's really difficult.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I drafted Julio and that didn't go well. So I'm salty. He's
going
okay
the last 2 weeks.
He's been all right. Dark Knight Raider says good shoe. Yes, good shoe to you all out there. Yeah, so all right. That's our shoe. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Kyle, let them know where they can find us before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That's at Jackson Kruger. At Jackson Kruger on Twitter. I am at by Kyle Gronin on Twitter. And make sure to follow the account page. That's at On the Sideline JK on Twitter, at On the Sideline JK. Are we announcing next Sunday our plans?
Oh yeah, we should. I meant to do that at the beginning of the show. That's yeah. Go ahead, announce it.
So next Sunday, I'm in for a Rude Awakening Sunday night. What we're gonna do? We still have our show scheduled for 12 o'clock Eastern midnight Eastern after Sunday Night Football. But what we're gonna do as a special thing is we are going to live broadcast during the Buccaneers and Patriots game Sunday Night Football. The Buccaneers obviously being Jackson's team. The Patriots obviously being my team. Tom Brady back in the building. We're going to be live on YouTube, so if you don't want to listen to Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels, you can come listen to us talk some nonsense. Come on YouTube. We'll chat with you during the entire game. We're still working on some of the kinks, but we'll figure it out as we go, and then we'll be live right after at midnight.
Yes, should be a lot of fun. You can at least, tune in to hear us go crazy over specific things if that happens. But yeah, should be very fun. So just to be clear, we won't be able to have the actual game on here, of course, because of copyright reasons, but it'll just be sort of something you put on and, on one side of the screen, put the game on the other. Should be fun. So that'll be during the Sunday Night Football game, Buccaneers, Patriots. Stay tuned for that. And of course, as always, there's an audio only feed, so check that out if you want. And Kyle, any final thoughts before we head out?
Looking forward to the NFC East Monday Night Football. Should be some good stuff there.
Yeah.
And yeah, looking forward to next Sunday will be interesting. We'll see how it goes.
Yes, Dark Knight Rider. This shoe is the best. Yes, exactly right. Thank you to everybody. We do appreciate it. And until next time, have a good one.
Peace.